Only the confirming documents from medical authorities would allow anyone to import this substance into the Russian Federation, and this person should have a Russian language certificate stating just that, and have to declare every similar item in her or his custom declaration.
Грайнера, также ее защитников, адвоката Байкова и Благовольной, о том, что у Грайнера отсутствовало незаконное перемещение наркотических средств через таможенную границу Российской Федерации и хранение на территории Российской Федерации гашишного масла, так как она хорошо знает, что ввоз на территорию Российской Федерации наркотических средств, разрешен по территории США, запрещен. Однако она по невнимательности не проверила свой багаж и не выложила.
The lawyers of Griner saying that she just neglected to mention she knew the illegal nature of importing hashish oil into Russian Federation, but when packing her bags, she just neglected to pay attention to this when packing. The statement by the defense of Griner that a translator in the customs office was not a qualified English language translator, that's why something was literally lost in translation, is being rejected, because the employee was using English on a daily basis working at the Sheremetyevo International Airport.
Происходили в очень короткий промежуток времени, и перевод данных процессуальных документов в связи с этим не осуществлялся. Суд признает несостоятельными, поскольку при производстве данных следственных действий участвовали переводчики Галстян Дунаев, которых привлечены на основании постановления следователей, предупреждаются в уголовной ответственности за заведомо неправильный перевод. Кроме того, каких-либо замечаний при производстве данных следственных действий отвечает после.
And all other complaints about translation from English to Russian and vice versa were also rejected. And also complaints on her being taken into custody also being rejected. The arrest happened at 5 p.m. on the 17th of February 2022 in the presence of her lawyer. So everything was in order. And analyzing everything which was mentioned, the court acts that Griner was guilty of importing the drug-related items into Russian Federation, and qualifies this her actions as a crime. According to the psychiatric expertise in April 2022, she isn't suffering of any psychological disorder, and she realizes in full the consequences of her actions. And during the investigation, Griner was not suffering from any kind of psychological disorder and psychiatric disorder, so she should fully understand her action and the consequences. So she was fully able to realize what was happening, and she doesn't need any medical help.
Медицинских организаций системы здравоохранения в порядке, предусмотренных статьей 72 прим. 1 УК РФ, она дальше. Анализируя выводы вышеуказанной экспертизы, а также сведения...
And taking into account all the expertise, the investigation states that she could be held responsible in criminal manner. And bearing in mind all the positive details of her character and her sporting achievements when playing basketball. And court also appreciates the partial pleading guilty. And the verdict, with all the details of the case and her character and certain circumstances, that she'll be penalized financially according to the Russian Penal Code. And also, the penalty will be attached to this case, which Griner should pay in full. Establishing the size of the sum of the penalty and bearing in mind other circumstances, the Russian court
Исходя из фактических обстоятельств дела, степени общественной опасности, совершенного Украиной деяния, предусмотренного пунктом В части 2 статьи 229 прим. УК РФ, суд не усматривает достаточных разумных оснований для изменения категории преступлений в рамках применения положений части 6 статьи 15 УК РФ. Вид исправительного учреждения для отбывания наказания судебной Украины следует назначить на основании пункта В части 1 статьи 58 УК РФ исправительной колонии общего режима.
And she'll be serving her term in the colony, in a penal colony. Griner is completed guilty and considered guilty according to Russian legislation and sentence her for 1 year and 6 months behind bars. Also, the final verdict is 9 years of imprisonment of the 9 million rubles penalty in the penal colony. And she will serve her term from the day of the announcement of this verdict. And time when she was behind bars from the 18th of February 2022 will be included in the overall term. And the hashish oil confiscated from Griner's luggage and 2 heating devices will be destroyed. And Moscow Regional Court, if the appeal will be launched,
со дня получения копии приговора, жалобы, представления ходатайственного участия в рассмотрении уголовного дела
She
судом апелляционной инстанции, о чем она должна уведомить
will be
в своем письменном заявлении.
Submitting a written statement. Do you understand the verdict? Do you understand the conditions of appeal?
Судебное заседание объявляется закрытым.
The court hearing is over.
Brittney, what you will say to your family? Do you want to say something?
Пошли на улицу. Да? Ну, конечно, там проход не нужен, я думаю. Главное, сейчас подход будет, посольство.
Кирилл, а тут я не мешаю? Или лучше сюда встать?
Я вот так вот. Дальше. Ну вот так и
All right, you've just been listening to the verdict being delivered. Guilty for WNBA star Brittney Griner, guilty of drug possession. Brittney Griner told the court she had no intention of breaking the law. She brought vape cartridges with cannabis oil to Russia, and under Russian law, punishment is up to 10 years in prison. The U.S. State Department has designated her as wrongfully detained. And they asked Brittney Griner at the end there if she understood the verdict being brought against her. And she was asked by journalists surrounding her if she had anything to say. And if she did have anything to say, it was not heard over the microphones that were there in the room. But that is the verdict right there. Now, if there is an appeal, we'll of course bring all the very latest right here on Local News Live. But that has to be filed first. We continue to monitor the feed to see if her defense attorneys will speak, but we're not seeing anyone stepping up to say anything at the moment. This caps off the very end of months of detainment, which could now potentially last even longer for Brittney Griner. And there have been hearings for weeks now. And multiple people have testified during those hearings, including some of her teammates and the team manager of the team she played for there in Russia, testifying for her release, testifying to her moral character. But ultimately, as part of that verdict that was read by the judge, it was stated many times that Griner was in full knowledge of her possession of this, even though the defense tried to say it was translation mismanagement, and it was just a hastily packing job that brought those drugs over. So if any appeals are filed, we'll continue to bring that for you right here on Local News Live. For right now, we'll go ahead and I'm going to tag in my co-anchor here, intrepid producer, Victoria Shirley. Victoria, what are you seeing?
All right, so let's go over a little bit about this sentence. We know now that Brittney Griner, the WNBA star, has been sentenced to 9 years in a Russian prison. She is getting credit for the amount of time she's already served in that Russian prison, which is about 6 months, and she was sentenced to pay a fine of 9 million rubles, which I'm working on converting that for you right now, but I believe that is tens of thousands of dollars. And also, she has 10 days to appeal that sentence. We're keeping a close eye on this case because the State Department is involved in this because they have said that she is wrongly detained. And there was a deal on the table that Secretary Blinken told the United States public about, because they've been receiving a ton of public pressure. And as far as we know, the press secretary, White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that Russia has made a, quote, bad faith response to the U.S. government's offer, a counteroffer that American officials don't regard as serious. She declined to elaborate. And while I'm reading through this, maybe I can get Nick's help in converting the 9 million rubles for me so we can add that to the full screen. But again, Russian officials have said that the U.S. statements about the case is showing disrespect for Russian law. They remained poker-faced, urging Washington to discuss the issue through quiet diplomacy without releases of speculative information. All right, let's go through some of these facts of the case now, as you may be just now hearing about this case. Oh, did you find that out, Nick?
Yeah, it's just under $147,000.
Okay, so roughly $150,000 in a fine.
Right.
But all right, so let's go over the facts of this case. So this all started in February when Brittney Griner, she was set to go play for a team in Russia. She said she packed really quickly, and she didn't mean to bring her vape cartridges that has cannabis oil with her when she flew to Moscow in February to play basketball in the city of Yekaterinburg. And looks like, all right, I thought my mic was dying, but I think I'm good there. So under Russian law, Griner faced up to 10 years in prison, but the judges had considerable latitude on that sentencing. And, talks were in place to release her from that prison. But of course, as you just heard, they haven't been going according to plan. If she doesn't go free, and we found out that she isn't going to go free, attention is now turning to the possibility of a high-stakes prisoner swap that was proposed last week by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to his Russian counterpart. Griner said she made an honest mistake in bringing the vape cartridges into Russia, adding, quote, "I hope in your ruling it does not end my life." Griner said she said that the area where she was set to play basketball had become her second home. She said, quote, "I had no idea that the team, the cities, the fans, my teammates would make such a great impression on me over the 6.5 years that I spent here." She said that she remembers vividly coming out to the gym and all the little girls that were in the stands there waiting on her, and that's what kept her going back to Russia. But the prosecutor insisted that Griner packed that cannabis oil deliberately, and again asked the court to hand Griner a fine of 1 million rubles, and 1 million is equal to 16,700. So again, multiply that by 9. That is what the judge handed down. And lawyers for the Phoenix Mercury Center and two-time Olympic gold medalist have sought to bolster Griner's contention that she had no criminal intent and that the canisters ended up in her luggage by mistake. They presented character witnesses from her teammates and even a written testimony from a doctor who prescribed her that cannabis for pain treatment from injuries from her basketball career. And she insists that she only ever uses the medical marijuana in Arizona. So again, breaking news here. Let's bring up this full screen here. She has been found guilty in a Russian court of drug possession, sentenced to 9 years in prison. And of course, she is facing that pretty steep fine there for that she'll have to pay the country of Russia. So we are waiting. We do have a stakeout camera. Let's actually show both of those shots if we can. We have a stakeout camera. That's what they call a camera when they're waiting outside of the courtroom, waiting for people to walk out and give statements. And we also have a camera inside that courthouse. So let's take a look briefly there at both of those views, and hopefully we will get more. But I am seeing there is a statement from Joe Biden about Brittney Griner. So let's see if we can pull that up through our email. Let me pull up our White House email here. All right, so I'm going to continue looking for this here and find out the source of this statement. I do see it coming across Twitter, but we always want to verify that it is the correct source and the right statement. So I'm going to continue digging for that. Anything new that you have for us, Nick?
No, I've been scouring social media myself. We now have 2 different views.
And I think your microphone might have died.
I haven't.
all
There
right.
we go. We now have 2 different views of this stakeout camera right now, so we'll go ahead and just combine it into the one who's got the best view of the open door there outside where the hearings have been taking place. We've been looking for more updates here on social media as well. Honestly, it's been a very long process. Can't even imagine what it's like for Brittney Griner herself right now.
All right,
currently
and I
not
have
knowing.
found that.
Oh, you have found it?
statement.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So essentially, Joe Biden saying that today, American citizen Brittney Griner received a prison sentence that is one more reminder of what the world already knew. Russia is wrongfully detaining Brittney. It's unacceptable, and I call on Russia to release her immediately so she can be with her wife, loved ones, friends, and teammates. My administration will work tirelessly to pursue every possible avenue to bring Brittney and Paul Whelan home safely as soon as possible.
And obviously, this is something we're going to continue to keep looking at here. We're going to keep our eye on this right here. We're not sure who is going to come out or speak, if anyone is going to be. But of course, we'll just keep our eye on this feed right here and go right back to it here on Local News Live if we see anyone coming up here in just a moment. No, I believe that's another. No, those are just more photographers. Not sure if them rushing out with their cameras means someone is close behind. It could very well be. So we'll continue to watch this feed. But right now, if you are just joining us, the Russian court verdict says Brittney Griner has been found guilty of drug possession. Prosecutors say they did deliberately bring drugs. Okay, yes, we are seeing someone approach the microphone. Let's bring them up.
Today, U.S. citizen athlete Brittney Griner, who is admired by millions of fans in the United States as well as here. Intentional oversight. This is a miscarriage of justice. The U.S. Department of State has determined that Ms. Griner was wrongfully detained. Nothing in today's decision changes that determination. Together with consular officers from the U.S. Embassy here in Moscow, I attended every session of Ms. Griner's trial. We will continue to be closely engaged in this case. We will remain in frequent contact with Ms. Griner and with her legal team. Secretary of State Blinken, President Biden's national security team, and the entire American government remain committed to bringing Ms. Griner home safely to her family, friends, and loved ones. And I, as Chargé d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, will also do my best to bring her home safely. I will continue to do everything to care for the safety and well-being of Ms. Griner and of all U.S. citizens detained in the Russian Federation. We have no higher priority. Thank you.
Is it still possible to change her?
I have no further comments. Thank you.
Володя дописал сам
All right there, as you just heard, the case is going to be continued to be pursued for Brittney Griner on that front. And support was expressed on the part of Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and of course, President Joe Biden, whose statement that we just read. Again, the phrase miscarriage of justice also said in that statement. So if an appeal is filed, we'll bring all that for you right here on Local News Live. For now, we're going to bring it right on back here to the Local News Live headquarters. We thank you so much for sticking with us as we continue to bring you the very latest from inside the courtroom and then outside it. Any new any new news conferences, if any of those crop up, we'll continue to bring them to you right here on Local News Live. But for now, we are due for a commercial break. We'll bring you more news when we come back. Thank you.
Streaming 24/7, you're watching Local News Live.